I didn't focus on it. I didn't say to myself, oh, I really hope that I get it. Like, yes, I hope I get every job I audition for, but I also understand that there's always another job. Like, there's always more money out there. There's always more opportunities out there. So I'm never just like, if I don't get this job, I'm nothing. Like, I don't do that. And I hope that you don't either. Pro tip.
5 shows made 3 million a week. You are now looking at the bestie elite. You are now looking at the bestie elite. You are now looking at the best.
Hey there, besties. Welcome back to the summer sessions. Live life with me and learn something along the way. So, while you guys are checking out my morning routine as a model when I travel, I want to break down how I actually travel as a model and book more jobs because of it. Okay, let's start with this job specifically. So I booked this job the traditional way. What does that mean? That means that I have multiple agencies. This is nothing new, guys. I have multiple agencies, and one of my agencies let me know this job was casting. So I told them I was available. They submitted me to the job. The client really liked me, so they called me in for an audition. Did the audition, okay? The client reviewed everything. They really liked me. They asked me to come back, okay, and do what's called a callback, where it's basically like a part two, okay, of your first audition, because they've narrowed it down. After that callback, I let it go. I didn't focus on it. I didn't say to myself, oh, I really hope that I get it. Like, yes, I hope I get every job I audition for, but I also understand that there's always another job. Like, there's always more money out there. There's always more opportunities out there. So I'm never just like, if I don't get this job, I'm nothing. Like, I don't do that. And I hope that you don't either. Pro tip. Now, once I finished that callback, I went about my merry way. I did another job that I got booked for, etc. And I played phone tag with my agent for like a day or two. And when we finally got on the phone together, I literally still have the recording. She told me that I booked it. I was so excited because this was a SAG job, which means that it is, this job is going to be used and published in a way where I have to get a certain amount of money minimum. All right, this job also required me to travel. So the first half of this job was out of my market, which is Miami, and the second half of the job was actually in Miami. So it worked out. Now, once I booked this job, okay, there's a couple of things that made traveling for this job and for other jobs possible. Number one, I live next to a major airport, meaning it goes international. In fact, in South Florida, there are 3 airports. All of them are international airports when it comes to like the major ones, not just like the smaller ones for like private airplanes. That's totally separate. But I live next to an international airport. I have several options to fly out of. Okay, it is not difficult for me to get to an airport, to get wherever I want to get internationally. Let's start there. I understand that some of you guys might live in smaller markets, so you might have to drive to a major market and then hop on a flight to either your final destination or a flight to get to the airport that's going to then send you out to your final destination. I know sometimes it can get a little bit tricky, but this is how I'm able to travel, okay? Let's put it there. Now, do I think that you won't be able to travel as much if you live in a smaller space? No, because plenty of the jobs that I have done as a model who travels that are, international and both just like domestically out of my state, it didn't matter technically where I actually lived. It only mattered if I can get to the job. Same for you. All right. Now, outside of me literally being able to travel because I have lots of options on how to travel, the next thing I want to break down is what that does for my income. So I was actually coaching a model the other day because outside of being a full-time model and traveling internationally and working internationally, I also coach other models on how to do the same inside of their modeling career. Meaning I teach you how to book your next paid job in 2 weeks or less, regardless of your look, your location, or even if you have representation. All right. If that's something you're interested in, you can always drop the word model below and I'll send you a link so we can hop on a sales call and we can put together a custom strategy for you to book your next paid job, again, in 2 weeks or less, taking you from unpaid to consistently booked. Now that I've kind of put that shameless plug in there, what traveling does for my income allows me to balance out across the year. So when you start modeling more consistently, you're going to realize that there are these things called slow seasons. Okay. For my market, my slow season is summer. So for me, it works because during the summer, I have my birthday, I have my family reunions, like I can reconnect with people. So to me, it's fine. Right. But for other markets, sometimes your slow season is really hard. It can be like in the middle of winter and like there's nothing to do, there's no jobs, it's really hard to get paid work. And then summer, everything's great, but you also want to travel. So, every market has its ups and downs. That's something I also like break down with the models that I coach, because I would hate for you to think that you're a terrible model just because of the time of year it is, when it's not you, it's just the amount of jobs that are available. In my market, when it's hot everywhere, nobody's traveling to my market to do paid jobs. Okay, they're just staying where they're at because they can now shoot outside on location with no problem. Make sense? So for me, traveling allows me to boost my income during my typical slow season. It allows me to, fly out to Vancouver and make 4 figures a day. It allows me to, fly out to middle America and book, thousands of dollars worth of work. It allows me to travel, anywhere and make money without being restricted to where I am and what's available where I am. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, this last little element, right, is something that sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't, okay? And that's the client covering all expenses. For this job that you're seeing where I'm walking you through my morning routine, the client covered everything. Love that. On other jobs that I've done both domestically and internationally as a model, either freelance or through my agencies, sometimes you'll get a stipend, sometimes you'll have to recoup the cost yourself, meaning like the job pays enough money to where even after your flights and your hotel, you're still walking away with a good amount of money. That sometimes happens as well. It's always better when the client is covering everything, because then, that's one less thing for you to worry about. But even if you have to cover the cost yourself, don't limit yourself. Because let me tell you something. I would rather book a job that pays me $2,000 and my travel expenses are like $750. And I walk away pre-tax with $1,250. I would much rather do that, travel to a new city, get to experience something new, get to have something new in my book, get to expand my network, than to just say, oh no, they're not paying for my travel, so I'm not gonna go. Do you see what I'm saying? I would much rather make money traveling and doing what I love to do in a new city than sitting at home because I don't want to pay for my own flight and hotel. But do what works best for you. Now, speaking of what works best for you, should you travel or not as a model? That is always going to be up to you. Always, always, always. I am not here to tell you how to run your modeling career. If you want me to be your coach, I can always help you to get the goals that you're aiming for in the best way that works for you. But I am not here to make you do anything that you're uncomfortable with, okay? So if you want to, chill in your native market, do a whole bunch of remote modeling, no problem. If you want to jet set for all of your jobs, also no problem. Your career is your career. Live it how you want to, okay? That's everything for today's summer sessions. Thank you so much for living life with me and learning something along the way. I'll see you guys in the next one.